This program is sponsored by Newcastle County Government.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Reuben's Indian Kitchen. Today, I have my friend Christina Tran with me. We're going to be making some Indo-Chinese food today. We're going to be making some dumplings with a little bit of an Indian twist. We did this yesterday, and it turned out so good. So, Tran, let's just get right into it. What are we going to be doing first for these dumplings?
So we're going to start with sauteing the shiitake mushrooms.
Sweet. I got a little bit of oil right here. If I can get it open. Oh my goodness, there it is. All right, and this is a pretty traditional dumpling dough, or filling recipe?
Yep. So I have some minced pork. You want to choose pork that's slightly higher in fat content. It kind of acts as a binder as well. While he's doing that, I'm going to throw in some diced water chestnuts.
Those are just going to add a little bit of texture to the whole filling. It's going to give you a nice little crunch when you bite into the dumpling.
Got some onions and scallions. And then this is paneer.
Yeah, so the two things we added to this dumpling mix to make a little bit more Indian style, a little bit of a twist on it, we added paneer, which is pretty much like an Indian cottage cheese. It's very similar to tofu, but it's not dairy. Like tofu isn't dairy, so this is dairy. It's very firm. You can actually cook it. You can actually sear it. We use it for a dish called palak paneer. Here we just shredded it up, so it kind of gets mixed into that mix really well. It gives you that nice nutty flavor. And we also added some mustard oil, which is going to give it kind of a nice little herbal floral spice to it. These mushrooms are cooking down.
Perfect. And I'm also adding some soy sauce, which adds a little bit of that umami taste to it.
That's right. All right.
Cool.
So while we're cooking this down, we're also going to be pairing it with the Madras Curry Sauce. So Madras Curry is super spicy. We're going to be using our curry base that we made on the curry episode, and we're going to be using this as our base to kind of dip our dumplings into. We were talking yesterday about how pretty much every culture has some sort of dumpling. You know, we have like empanadas in like Spanish culture. We have
pierogies.
Yeah, there's pierogies. We have samosas, yeah, which are, typically done with just potatoes and peas. How's that looking for you?
Beautiful.
So we're just gonna add that right to our mix.
Go ahead.
The nice thing about paneer is that it doesn't really melt either, so it's not gonna melt as I put this hot mushrooms right on it. It's gonna kind of act as a barrier.
All right, so then you're just gonna mix it up.
And you were telling me something pretty important about mixing it up yesterday.
So I like to go in one direction. That's just how I was taught. There's no really any rhyme or reason, but it just helps.
It's because Mom taught you that way. That's why.
True.
So while she's mixing that, I'm going to get started on our Madras curry because I want to get this cooking for as long as possible so it gets a nice flavor and nice built-up flavor. So I'm going to throw some ghee right in the pan. And now that that's hot, I'm going to add just the red chili flake, so it kind of infuses the sauce. Now, Madras curry is typically a very spicy sauce. We use Kashmiri chili, but you can't really find Kashmiri chili as easily as you can find just red chili flake. I feel like everybody has a bottle of red chili flake right in their fridge or pantry. So once that just starts to get toasted, I'm going to add our ginger garlic paste. You're going to see that right there, how it starts to, it's going to start to turn like pepper gas almost. And now I'm going to add I'm going to add 2 cups of our base. And we're just going to kind of let that simmer. We're going to let that cook down. All right, so now where are we at over here? Christina?
So we're just about done mixing it up. You don't want to over mix it. That's just the way I was taught. There's no rhyme or reason.
Well, I feel like then it turns into more like a meatloaf, you know,
That's true.
and then it's going to be like super tough.
I never really grew up with meatloaf.
Oh, I love meatloaf. Meatloaf is one of my favorite things. You know, it's like meatballs. You don't want to like,
That's true.
you know what I mean? So like, I feel like the more you mix it up, the tougher it's going to get because you're working all of like the fat and everything into it. It's going to get a little bit more emulsified. This way, it kind of stays a little bit more separate. The fats kind of work really well in there to help bind it up instead of like, you know, just banging it together. So we're just going to keep this nice and simmer, and you're going to see some of the fat start to rise to the top here. You can kind of see that, and that's totally fine. All right, so now what's the next step over here?
So we're just about done. If you want, you can kind of ball it up a little bit, put it in the microwave, or cook a little patty just to taste it, make sure everything tastes right before you start wrapping.
Yeah, we have a nice hot pan here. We can do that. It's very important to taste your filling because once you put it in there, it's not like you can really fix it
That's
after
true.
that, you know. So we're just gonna make a little patty. We're just gonna smash that now.
There you go.
You're not trying to get like any like sear on here or anything. You're just trying to taste it. So you're just trying to just cook it just till it gets cooked. You're not looking for any like color or anything. There's a lot of similar ingredients that we use. You know, we use coriander, we use scallions, we use
Ginger.
cilantro, ginger, garlic. So there's a lot of, it just makes sense. There's Indo-Chinese is this whole other culture that we can utilize in this, like, for any of these foods. All right, so let's taste that real quick. Can we use a little bit more soy sauce, maybe?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
A little soy sauce, a little salt.
Super good, though. You won't believe it, but that paneer really does come through a lot. It's like chewy, and you do kind of get this nuttiness from the cheese. It's really crazy. So this is just simmering away. We're just going to kind of let this cook down, get it nice, and built up that flavor. We really want to just work on building these flavors because that's what makes these curries so good. The longer it cooks, the better it tastes. It always tastes better the next day, just like my mom taught me. Any of these curries and stuff always taste better the next day. All right. So what's the next step now?
So next step, you can make your own dough, but just for time's sake, we went and bought.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I use the store-bought naan. You know, I can make my own naan, but it's just easier, simpler, just to buy your own your own wrappers. It's not anything too crazy. They taste just as good as the regular ones. They're more uniform. You don't have to worry about getting them to like the right thickness, too thick, too thin.
Too sticky.
Yeah, it just makes more sense to buy it sometimes because, you know, sometimes they do it better than us. They've been doing it for a longer time.
And if you do want to make your own wrapper, it's just water, flour, and a pinch of salt.
That's it.
So. All right.
So you were telling me about all the different folds. So you want to show the audience just a couple of different folds that we do for the dumplings?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm sure if you guys have gone out to any like Chinese takeout spot and got your dumplings, you've seen a couple of different style of dumplings, a couple of different way they look. Christina's going to show us just a couple of basic ones to use and what kind of purpose they serve, because they all do. They're not just for, I mean, they all look pretty, but they all do serve a purpose. So
right.
she's just rubbing the outside with water to help it stick.
So this is just your simple, easy for a beginner wrap. You want to make sure you squeeze out all the air. Just helps everything steam better. And that's it.
So that's your first one right there, where she just kind of pinched it right in the middle. And so that's the first one we're going to do. What's the next one we're going to do?
So this one's just a fancier version of that, but all right. So
All right.
So pinch out all the air.
And how much filling are you putting in there?
So this is About a tablespoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's pretty important that you don't overfill your dumplings.
Because otherwise, when you cook it,
it's just going to explode.
Unless that's what you want.
So what purpose does this fold serve? Just a more
fancy version of the simple fold. When you make dumplings like this and you pan sear it, you're going to get more crust on the back. It's going to be crunchier.
So far, those are the two we have. This one almost kind of looks like an empanada almost.
Yeah. All right, so
what's the third one we're going to do?
So this one's like a Japanese style, like a gyoza type.
Okay. So what's the difference between like gyoza and like a Japanese dumpling and like a Chinese dumpling?
Girl, I don't know. The fold? I
guess it's just like the filling, huh?
Yeah.
Just like what goes in the filling. I mean, I don't really know too much about what the differences are, but
so this one, when you cook it, you sear just the bottom.
Okay.
Then when you steam.
So
so
gyoza is more seared on the bottom, whereas this one's more seared on the side.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the surface area of sear, I guess. But don't quote me.
All right. So this one is kind of like the more, like you said, the more traditional one. You see the gyoza. All right, so you guys see there's 3 different ones right here. They all look super beautiful. So which one's your favorite to do?
I kind of like the simple one.
Why? Do you just like the way it looks? You think it's just because it's quicker?
It's quicker, it's more uniform. That's about it.
Nice. All right, so we're going to keep building those out. And we actually have some that we already made that are in the freezer. How can we freeze them?
So you freeze them so it holds the shape when you cook it. It also allows you more cooking time, but you can cook it straight from the freezer, so it's great for like a quick meal, dinner, lunch, breakfast.
And I like both dumplings. I like steamed and like deep fried, but I like the combo one, the pan seared and then the steam on top. So you guys can see our curry's really getting thick right here, just our curry paste with the chili flake. So I'm just going to start mounting some of our coconut milk in there. And mounting is just a fancy term for like emulsifying. So normally you do it with like butter. You'll mount a sauce with butter where you just add a little bit and it'll just melt and thicken up your sauce. Kind of see how it just gets this lovely color. So when we were coming up with this dish, we were trying to figure out how we can incorporate some Indian flavors into these dumplings. And when we ate it for the first time we tried it, we couldn't really even distinguish whether it was like Indian or Chinese.
It was kind of quiet for a second too.
Yeah, we had no idea how
that
to
works.
So that's really good. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt to that. It's really spicy. It's really, really nice. Just a little bit of salt. And we're just going to kind of let this do its thing here. All right. So we do have some that are already done in the freezer. So we folded these in the way she made the first one. So you can kind of see. So these are just going to go pan down, the flat side down, right? So do you have to let these sit out for a little bit or like temper or anything?
No, you can just go straight to the pan, hot oil.
All right.
So we got the oil in there.
Yep. So we're just going to throw some oil right down. And about how long do these take to cook from frozen?
Probably 10 minutes from start to finish.
All right.
Yeah.
So we got the oil in the pan. If you want to show the good people how to do it, I'm going to grab a lid for you.
Thank you. All right.
So she's putting it the bottom side down. Just going to use another pan on top of that to steam it. So she's putting these in here in a very specific way for a specific reason, which you guys are going to kind of see. This is something that I actually learned when she showed me this. It was a really cool technique because when we were texting about it, she was telling me about this crispy skirt, and I had no idea what she was talking about. I thought she was talking about like skirt steak, and So what she's pretty much doing is making a slurry.
So yeah, it's a slurry of cornstarch and flour. I use cornstarch because I like the light and fluffy texture of it, and the flour kind of holds the structure. So this is about half cup of water and then a teaspoon each of the cornstarch and flour.
And so she's just going to whisk that together, and it's going to kind of create a very, very light batter of sorts. And you're going to see it looks like it's way too loose. It looks like it's not going to do anything at all when it goes in the pan. But as soon as it hits this pan, you're going to kind of see, I can already kind of tell that these are getting like nice and gorgeous on the bottom. If you guys look at that, that's what you're looking for, right? Look at that.
Perfect.
All of these are getting like really, really beautiful color. This one needs a little bit longer. We're just going to kind of move them around. Keep them in that same shape though. And so when she adds the slurry, another thing that's going to do, the water's going to kind of hit this, and it's going to steam it. And as soon as it does, I'm going to cover it with this. And it's going to help cook the outside, and it's actually going to help cook the inside of it as well.
So usually you don't need to use a slurry. I'm just doing it because I like that extra crisp and texture. You can just use water.
Yeah, so I like the extra texture too because it reminds me of a dosa, which is pretty much an Indian crepe. It's super delicious, super great. Like I said, when we had it yesterday, it turned out really, really awesome. So at what point do you want to add this slurry into it?
I think now it should be fine. We've got that nice brown on the bottom.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
All right. So just pour it on in.
And then we're just going to cover that.
Just let it steam.
And let it do its thing. So now while that's steaming, we're going to check our sauce. Do you want to taste that, Christina? I'm going to get you a spoon.
Yeah, sure.
So now to add to this, so this is super spicy. Usually with this, we would have what's called a raita, which is like a yogurt and cucumber sauce. So what we did today to kind of like mellow out all of these flavors is we got some really beautiful herbs. So we got some cilantro and Thai basil and chives. I'm gonna show you guys this Thai basil too. Guy wanted to swing open on me. So we have all these herbs right here. I just kind of made a quick little salad. So we have Thai basil, which if you guys aren't familiar with Thai basil, it's a little bit sweeter than regular basil. It has a little bit more of a spicy smell to it as well. I like it better than regular basil personally. It has these like beautiful purple stems to it. You guys can see how it's starting to make like a little dough on the bottom. It's really awesome. You can see how the top is starting to get just a little bit cooked. And we're going to get there. Going to keep covering it. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. So yeah, we added these herbs to it just to kind of add just a little bit more of an herbaceous kind of note to it. And when I do it, I just take the basil and I just kind of tear it in half. So it's like two little halves like that. And with the cilantro, I just picked it. And with the chives, I just made these little batons. So it just turned out really, really, really nice. And it's going to add like a nice little textural balance to this whole thing. All right.
Okay.
So while you're banging out some more dumplings, we're going to keep an eye on this. I think the most important part is making sure that that pork is all the way cooked.
Yep.
Awesome. It's going to get cleaned up just a little bit here. So again, if you guys don't want to use this curry for it, you guys can totally do this with just a regular old gyoza dipping sauce, which we could honestly do out of what? Just soy sauce?
Soy sauce, vinegar, maybe something spicy, like a red pepper flake.
Yeah, so I mean, we have all that stuff now. We can show them how to do that as well to give them kind of a little bit more of a traditional look to it because we have all of that stuff. So we have soy sauce, a little red chili flake, and you said
Vinegar.
we have some rice vinegar in here.
Perfect.
So this way we just kind of have two different sauces to it. It just kind of helps add just a little something different. You know, if you want to go a little bit more of a traditional route. And when you cut these up, you just want to make sure you're getting them nice rings in it. And you're just going to mix it right in there.
Yep. Just toss it in.
Just going to add a little bit of that to it. All right. How are we looking here, Christina?
Good. I would just leave the lid off, kind of let the water evaporate.
So you guys can kind of see how it's starting to create just like a little bit of a dough right in there. Woo. While that's going, I'm gonna grab a plate. These out of the way. All right. So you just put like equal parts of soy sauce and rice wine vinegar in here?
I would do 2 parts soy sauce and 1 part vinegar. I mean, it's up to your preference if you like more acidity or that umami taste to it.
Christina used to be a great friend and just bring me, when I worked at a restaurant right up the street from here, she would just randomly drop by and give me like a beautiful like beef udon soup you dropped off once. She dropped me off some dumplings one day. And I would share them with the other chefs in the kitchen. They were like, dude, these are crazy. And they were awesome. And it always was like, it was like soul warming, this type of food. Even now, like when I have a craving for some sort of takeout, I'll go for like Thai or like Chinese food.
It's like comfort food. I think
Exactly.
dumplings are my comfort food.
Right.
Temperature a little bit.
So we're just gonna turn that up all the way to get it a little crisp on here.
Yep. And then once all the water starts to evaporate, you'll kind of see, since you're using a nonstick,
It'll start to rise up, right?
Right. It'll start to lift on the edges.
There we go there. I'm just gonna wash one of these off real quick. All right. Yeah, you can kind of see how it sort of like just lift off the ends. It's almost like a tweel. It's almost like a cookie tweel where when you add it to a pan like this, all the water evaporates and it just leaves this really thin, kind of crispy
Light,
cookie almost.
crispy.
This
Kinda
is
like a chip.
almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you see it like garnished with like desserts and stuff all the time. Oh man, you can kind of see how it starts to create these like this almost like lattice effect. There we go. When I had this yesterday, it was wild. It was insane how good it was. I was telling everybody here like how crazy this dish was yesterday and how excited I am for everybody to try this. I posted on my Instagram, on Reuben's Indian Kitchen on Instagram, and it was like, it got so much feedback and people were going crazy for it. All right, Christina, it's starting to lift up a little bit. So
Yep,
now what do we do?
there. So I would get a plate.
All right, big plate.
A plate just enough to kind of catch everything.
All right, I can do that. Go.
And then once that little last bit.
Yes, I don't know if you guys can see how it's starting to like lift up a little bit. That's kind of what you're looking for when she's talking about that crispy skirt. What do you think? Should we go for the flip?
I think so.
Go. Look at that.
Nailed it. Look at that lettuce.
So you guys see all those little like nice little crispy bits that came off from there? They're all nice and seared onto here. So now we're just gonna plate up. We're gonna kind of finish our plate up a little bit. We're gonna grab one of these beautiful white plates up here. We're just gonna kind of put a little bit of sauce on the bottom of the plate. Just like that. I like to put just a couple of these on there. Make sure you get these little crispy bits. They're like the most important part. I think we should save these two for us.
All right.
All right, and then we're just gonna put some of these herbs right on top. There you go. And that right there is those Indian-style dumplings. Should we go for it?
After you.
Should we go for it? All right. Just gonna throw a little bit of this sauce right on here. All right.
Yeah? I'm going to try this sauce.
Ooh. When you get the spice from the curry, the dumpling filling is so good. You get an extra crunch, not only from that seared bottom, but from the lattice itself. It's so good. You get the crunch also from the water chestnuts. You get a lot of great flavor in there. It's absolutely amazing. You knocked it out of the park, dude.
So you do.
How's that sauce turned out? Does it taste pretty good with that? With all the Indian flavors in here with that?
It's perfect.
It's
Goes
crazy.
together.
These little crispy bits, I like to just dip that in there. Man, it's just so good. This is a dish I would probably pay a lot of money for in a Chinese restaurant or like an Indian restaurant. This is a great dish. Super easy.
Yeah.
Very easy. I think a lot of people are intimidated by dumplings, and I don't think you should be. What do you think?
I think there was never any real measurements when my mom was teaching me how to make the filling, so it's just by feeling.
So my mom did, man. Moms never really have any measurements. They just know. They just know how much to put in there, and it's so great. This is so good. I love this dish so much. Great job today. Thank you for coming on and showing everybody how to make these dumplings and how we can incorporate some of our Indian flavors and our Indian concepts into other cuisines. I hope this inspires you guys to get more creative with some of the things I'm showing you and how you can incorporate Indian food and Indian flavors into other different styles of cooking. Tran, once again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in.